of course, the target of that armed rebellion. CNN's Nick Robertson, he is in London now. Nick, first on the ongoing machinations inside the power structure of Russia. Here is Prigozhin, a few weeks ago, launches a mutiny targeting Putin, turns up inside Russia, and of course, what was Putin territory is still Putin territory, where he was a KGB agent prior to the fall of the Soviet Union, held a lot of power there in the 90s. What's the significance?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things in play here. Look, Prigozhin, longtime ally of Putin, running the Wagner mercenary group, doing Putin's bidding in Africa, providing security through the mercenaries into some planned states there, like Mali, like Mozambique, and others. But getting minerals like gold and diamonds as part of that deal. And this has been something that Prigozhin's done in cahoots with Putin in the Kremlin. So it seems that Prigozhin still has some currency with Putin because he controls some of the levers to these interests in Africa. Now, how long he controls them, we don't know. We don't know what kind of a deal he got cut or strictures were put on him entirely by Putin. So it does seem bizarre. I mean, this major push against Putin, a mutiny, Putin called it a betrayal, said severe consequences, yet it just doesn't look like it on the face of it right now, does it?
No question. I mean, listen, from Putin, who has tried to kill people who've just said critical things about him, to this counteroffensive now, what do we know as to how much more force Ukrainians are applying and where exactly?
They've committed more. They say they still have reserve forces that they can put into the fight. They say they've been going slowly because the area they're trying to get through is very heavily mined, so they've lacked munitions in some cases. But as of a couple of days ago, we heard that they were putting up, not just from the Ukrainian side, but from the Russian side as well, saying that the Ukrainians were using huge, intense artillery barrages, which is typical for a big push. You send ground troops in after that, and that seems to be what's happening, that Ukrainians have taken some territory from Russians. The Russian commanders on the ground there actually admit the loss of some frontline villages. How significant that's going to be over the coming days, we don't know. But it's interesting because here on the ground, the Russians and the military bloggers on their side are saying we're making losses and having a tough time. Yet in St. Petersburg, Putin is saying not so much. We're crushing them, destroying their tanks.
Well, better reflection of reality has tended to be those folks on the front lines. Nick Robertson in London, thanks so much. Let's continue this conversation, a bit more analysis with retired Army Brigadier General Mark Kimmett. General, there has been some, I don't know if criticism is the right word, but certainly awareness that the counteroffensive has not proceeded as fast as some had hoped. Now you have a sense that Ukraine is committing more of its forces into this. How significant is that move? Because there had been some sense that until now, Ukraine had held many of its forces back.
Well, I think you've got to talk about the Ukrainian plan at first. They've got a 600-mile defense line that they've got to try to break through. So for the last couple of weeks, I think the Ukrainians have been probing for the soft spots along that 600-meter line. It would appear that they may have found a soft spot down in the Zaporizhzhia region. And if they are able to do that and are able to break through that very, very extensive obstacle belt, that's where the commander is going to consider deploying those 8 brigades in reserve. However, the Russian commander knows that as well, so you can expect that he's going to be concentrating a lot of forces there as well. So it would appear that the Ukrainians have found a soft spot. It may be that they can break through and commit those 8 brigades of Western-trained, Western-equipped troops to finally conduct that breakthrough that we've been talking about for so long.
If it is true, this would be key, because part of the plan from the beginning had been to push down towards Melitopol there to break that land bridge between Crimea and eastern Ukraine. You and I have talked about this, other experienced commanders. They always make the point. The rule of thumb is you need a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 times as many forces if you're the attacking force to attack defended positions, particularly positions like this that they've had months to dig in and mine, set booby traps, etc. Can you, even with good planning and well-trained units, break through with a lower ratio than that?
Well, we'll see if, in fact, this is what's happening. If, in fact, Ukrainians concentrated forces in a particular area to give them a 3 or 4 or 5 to 1 advantage in that narrow area, they may be able to break through. Things are much easier once you have got through that obstacle belt, once you've got through those barriers and those tank traps. Then it's just open maneuver on both sides. So there, at that point, that 3 to 1 calculus goes down much more to 1 to 1.
Understood. Well, listen, much to watch, and we're going to continue to bring developments as we see them.
Yeah.
General Mark Kimmett, great to have you on. Thanks so much. Boris.
Better than expected. The biggest measure of the U.S. economy just beat expectations, but economists are keeping a close eye on a potential weak spot. We'll explain. Plus, Senate Democrats taking on their Republican colleague who's holding up nominations to top military posts. Their call for him to, quote, release the hostages when we come back on CNN News Central.
What do you get from the Morgan Stanley client experience? Listening more than talking, and a personalized plan to guide you through a changing world.
Family life can get really messy, but Care.com can help with lots of great housekeepers to put your place back together again when it's right for you. It costs less than you think. Get the housekeeping help you need. Care.com.
Okay, everyone, our mission is complete balanced nutrition. Together, we provide nutrients to support immune, muscle, bone, and heart health.
Ensure with 25 vitamins and minerals, and Ensure Complete with 30 grams of protein.
Power outages are unpredictable, inconvenient, and disruptive to your life, posing a real threat to your comfort and safety. When the power goes out, you have no lights, no refrigeration, no heating or air conditioning. Your well or sump pump won't work. Your modern daily electronics are rendered useless. And what if the power's out for days or weeks? Are you prepared? You can be with a Generac home standby generator.
With the Generac, it powers our well, the refrigerator, and my CPAP machine, which are all things that we need to survive on a day-to-day basis.
When a power outage occurs, your Generac home standby generator automatically powers up, so your life goes on without disruption. You and your family are comfortable, safe, and secure. Generac generators run on your home's existing natural gas or propane, and Generac's Mobile Link remote monitoring system keeps you posted on operating status, maintenance updates, and more. Generac generators are designed, engineered, and purpose-built in the USA. Generac is the #1 manufacturer of home standby generators in the world. 8 out of 10 home generators are Generac, with thousands of satisfied customers.
We chose Generac because you see it everywhere. After the hurricane, I looked at my wife and said, thank God I have a Generac. We're safe.
Prices start at just $19.99, and owning a generator is easier than ever. Special financing is available with low monthly payment options. Act now, and you will also receive a free 7-year warranty valued at $735. Call or go online now to request your free quote with one of Generac's 8,000 nationwide dealers. The call is free, the quote is free, and there's no obligation to buy. Call or go online now, so the next time there's a power outage, your home powers up. Power your life with Generac. Call or go online to request your free quote today.
Your shipping manager left to find themselves, leaving you lost. You need to hire. I need Indeed. Indeed you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
The thought of getting screened for colon cancer made me queasy.
But now I found a way that's right for me. Feels more easy.
My doc and I agreed. I picked the time. Today's a good day.
I screened with Cologuard and did it my way.
Cologuard is a one-of-a-kind way to screen for colon cancer that's effective and non-invasive. It's for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk. False positive and negative results may occur. Ask your provider for Cologuard.
I did it my way.
Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
We've offered a free book about mesothelioma for over 10 years. Call 1-800-872-4901 or go to Mesobook.com.
So So we've been talking about the potential for a recession for nearly 2 years, but this is not what a recession looks like. A pair of new reports on the U.S. economy defying expectations in the face of tough rate hikes and lingering inflation. Yet today, the markets are slightly down. Though, if the Dow bounces back roughly 100 points or so and ends in green, it would mark the 14th straight day of gains, which would be the longest win streak since 1897. 1897. Let's get you right to CNN's Matt Egan. So, Matt, walk us through the details on these reports. It's pretty good news.
It is, Boris, but we got to start with the Wall Street hot streak. As you mentioned, the Dow is down as we speak, but any gain today would be the longest win streak since 1897. That is crazy. Just for some context, back then the President of the United States was William McKinley, and neither the Boston Red Sox nor the New York Yankees even existed. Anyway, the message from the economic numbers today is the same as what you're hearing from Wall Street, which is that this economy is holding up really well. It's actually heating up. GDP out today, that's the broadest measure of the economy. It showed that the economy unexpectedly accelerated in the second quarter, 2.4%, beat expectations. That's pretty solid, especially given the fact that the Fed is trying so hard to slow this economy down. We also got some good numbers on the jobs front. Initial jobless claims, that's a proxy for layoffs, that unexpectedly fell sharply in the latest week. That is a good sign. It signals that the pace of layoffs is slowing. You can see layoffs did pick up earlier this year, but that is really starting to unwind. So, Boris, if you put this together, it paints the picture of an economy that is pretty healthy, much healthier than people thought, especially the economists who had been predicting the recession.
Well, Matt, a world in which the Red Sox and Yankees do not exist. We can all dream, but I digress. It's not all good news in these reports. There are signs that consumer spending is actually down, and as you reported yesterday, gas prices have spiked in recent days.
That's right. The GDP report did show that consumer spending slowed a bit. We've heard a similar story from some consumer-facing companies, including Coca-Cola, Unilever, and the owner of Louis Vuitton. But people are still spending on experiences. I mean, just look at the blockbuster movie sales for Barbie and Oppenheimer, and of course, all those sold-out Taylor Swift concerts. But one thing we need to keep an eye on is the price of gasoline, because it is unexpectedly soaring recently. The national average is now at $3.71 a gallon, up another 2 cents overnight. This is the highest level in 8 months, up 13 cents in just the past week. And if you look at the map, we now have 13 states, according to AAA, averaging $3.80 or above, including Pennsylvania, Illinois, Colorado, and of course, California. The crazy thing here, though, Boris, is why this is happening. Part of it is the fact that oil prices have gone up as OPEC holds back supply, but it's also these extremely hot temperatures. Analysts say that triple-digit heat is messing with refineries, causing them to limit their supply of gasoline, jet fuel, and diesel right when it's needed the most. Hopefully, Boris, the situation goes back towards normal as temperatures cool off.
Ironic that climate change is now causing issues in the very industry that has helped exacerbate it. Matt Egan, thank you so much. Jim?
Of course, fun fact, the Miami Heat were not around when McKinley was president as well. Just wanted to make sure we don't want that at all. On the Hill, Senate Democrats are piling on new pressure, taking to the Senate floor late last night to try to convince Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville to drop his 5-month-long hold on all military nominations. Watch.
One senator is jeopardizing America's national security.
Holds on hundreds of military promotions over a single policy disagreement is unconscionable.
Tuberville blocking some 270 promotions. The White House says President Biden is planning to knock his blockade in a speech tonight when he marks the 75th anniversary of the desegregation of the U.S. military. He is blocking those promotions because Tuberville does not approve of a Pentagon policy of reimbursing military members who leave their state where they're assigned or deployed to get abortions or other reproductive care. CNN's Lauren Fox, she's live on Capitol Hill. Lauren, I wonder, because you haven't just seen Democratic criticism of this blockage here. You've heard it from some Republican lawmakers, and you've certainly seen a lot of family members go to the Hill and try to lobby him directly. Do you see any movement from his position?
Yeah, so far, Tommy Tuberville is steadfast, saying that he's opposed to the DOD policy, and until he gets a vote on the Senate floor or until the DOD reverses that policy on abortion travel reimbursement, he is not going to back off. We should remind people that Tommy Tuberville can't ultimately stop a nominee from getting confirmed in the Senate, but he can really slow down this process and gum up the works, which is precisely what he's doing. If Senate Democrats wanted to put these nominees on the floor one by one, including someone like the Marine Commandant, which the Marine Corps has not been without in more than 160 years at this point, they could go to the floor and they could move that nomination. It would just take time. But so far, Democrats are making the case that they do not want to set that precedent. What they don't want to do is create the politicization of the U.S. military. So that's why you saw Democrats last night, instead of going to the floor and calling for these votes, really having a talk-a-thon to discuss the impact of these holds on military families across the country. Here's Jack Reed, the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee.
They should not be political pawns. Now, before Senator Tuberville, we would be talking about our nominees. They're not nominees, they're hostages. We can't tolerate that. That's a disservice to these men and women, to our armed forces, to the men and women they lead. We have to do our duty.
And Republicans are frustrated with Tuberville's tactics, although they do agree with the underlying fight that he's having over that DOD policy. But, you know, I asked John Thune earlier whether or not he believes that this is going to break before the August recess. Lawmakers are expected to depart in the next couple of days. And he said, no, he doesn't. This is probably going to go on for many more weeks, just as military families are really happy to think about relocating, having their kids start new schools. School year is nearly upon us, Jim.
Yeah, and it's not their choice, but often where they locate too. Lauren Fox on Capitol Hill, thanks so much for us.
Sully versus Cinema, why the pilot who pulled off the miracle on the Hudson says the senator's plan to, quote, cut airline pilot safety training is a very bad idea. The Feud, next.
Like this.
Don't you wish your flying looked more like this? Don't you wish your flying looked like this?
Don't you wish your phone could fit here? Don't you?
Get a free storage upgrade when you pre-order at Verizon.
Prime Video is entertainment for you. Which you? The you with zero regrets. The you with zero filter. And that was funny. Lover you. And single you. No, we mean happily single you. World-changing, nap-taking, rule-breaking you. Because at Prime Video, we have entertainment for you. All of you.
Hey, honey. Looks like my to-do list grew. Paint the bathroom, give Baxter a bath, get life insurance. Have a few minutes? I can do that now. That fast. Remember that Colonial Penn ad? I called and I got information. They sent the simple form I need to apply. All I do is fill it out and send it back.
Well, that sounds too easy.
Give a little information, check a few boxes, sign my name. Done.
They don't ask about your health?
No health questions.
Physical exam?
Don't need one. It's Colonial Penn Guaranteed Acceptance Whole Life Insurance.
If you're between the ages of 50 and 85, your acceptance is guaranteed in most states, even if you're not in the best health. Options start at $9.95 a month, 35 cents a day. Once insured, your rate will never increase. A lifetime rate lock guarantees it. Keep in mind, this is lifetime protection. As long as you pay your premiums, it's yours to keep. Call for more information. and the simple form you need to apply today. There's no obligation, and you'll receive a free beneficiary planner just for calling.
Call 1-800-651-5700 for your free information and your free beneficiary planner. That's 1-800-651-5700. There's no obligation. That number again is 1-800-651-5700. Call now.
Why did we choose Safe Light? For us, driving around is the only way we can get our baby to sleep. So when our windshield cracked, we needed it fixed right. We went to safelight.com. There's no one else we'd trust. Their experts replaced our windshield and recalibrated our car's advanced safety system. They focus on our safety so we can focus on this little guy.
Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace. How did this relationship between the two of you go to the point where it is now?
Do you believe this counteroffensive is Ukraine's best shot at winning this war?
You're saying this story is wrong?
Oh, I'm not confirming it.
The Source with David Collins, tonight at
9. Box of videotapes, film reels, or photos that are degrading, Legacy Box professionally converts them to DVDs, thumb drive, or the cloud. Legacy Box is simple and safe, with over 1 million satisfied customers. Visit legacybox.com.
There is a lot that goes into becoming a licensed therapist.
2 years of graduate school followed by 2 years of clinical training.
You literally have to do 3,000 hours plus of interaction with clients. It is quite a journey.
I'm Stephanie Elam in Las Vegas, and this is CNN.
The pilot known for the miracle on the Hudson emergency landing, retired airline captain and airline safety advocate Sully Sullenberg, is coming for Arizona's Senator Kristen Sinema. He's accusing her of trying to cut and gut airline pilot safety training via her proposed amendment to an airline safety bill, the FAA Reauthorization Act. Now, her amendment would enable the FAA to relax training requirements for commercial airline pilots, specifically the 1,500-hour rule. In a tweet, Sullenberger said, quote, "I have spent a lifetime dedicated to making air travel safer, but this critical and life-saving work is about to be undone with one amendment to a bill." The deadline to pass the FAA reauthorization is on September 30th. Joining us now is David Soucy. He's a CNN safety analyst and a former FAA safety inspector, also the author of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. David, thanks so much for being with us. How valid are Captain Sullenberger's concerns?
Oh, very valid, and I can see the damage that this bill will do. It has no credibility whatsoever. It's being touted as something that will improve safety, when in fact it does exactly the opposite.
What issues specifically do you see with Kristen Sinema's amendment?
Well, it would be what the pilots would be able to do is use any of their time that they spend in the simulator to add towards the 1,500-hour requirement, which is preposterous. A simulator is nothing more than a tool to aid in the training and the different scenarios that you go through. It cannot replace the mindset of a pilot in control of an aircraft, and to get those hours in experience. To put an inexperienced pilot in the cockpit is a very dangerous thing to do.
I want to get your thoughts on Senator Sinema's reaction when she was asked about her plan by CNN's Phoenix affiliate 12 News. She said, quote, "Senator John Thune and I are working on an amendment that would actually enhance pilot training and ensure that pilots who are in accredited schools can use some of the hours that they're training in simulators toward their pilot training." She argues that time spent in a simulator is useful because they can simulate weather conditions that aren't as common when pilots are actually training in the air routinely.
There's nothing different about that. They do that right now. And that training does go on, and it does expose them to different scenarios. But again, she's saying that she's improving the training. That's much different than saying that you're reducing the experience requirement. You can't replace experience with training. It's two different things, and they're for two different purposes entirely.
So the issue that she's trying to address here is the pilot shortage, right? There's something like 8,000 pilots, I think, that we're short from, and in like 10 years, it's going to be 30,000 or so. What proposed measures would you suggest to try to fix that?
Well, increasing the age is number one. The second thing we need to do is get more pilots in the air, and that requires approving things like electric airplanes that are out there right now that operate at a quarter of the cost. The other thing is that the airline industry has known this is coming down the pike now for many years. They knew this storm was headed this way. They did nothing about it. Now, just recently, some of the airlines are actually paying for training to get pilots into the training, to get them certified, and get them start feeding the pipeline of pilots. And that needs to be expedited. It needs to be supplemented by Congress instead of reducing safety to meet this requirement. It's not the right way to go. You have to improve safety, and the only way to do that is to get more people flying. So what I would be doing is putting together some amendments to encourage young pilots to go out and get hours and fly and become trainers and get those hours underneath them. That's the only way you're going to get these. The airline industry has been riding on the backs of the military for so many years, and we're just not getting that many pilots from the military due to the drones and due to the fact that there aren't that many military actions right now. So that's what they've been riding on. Now the airlines must take this under their own responsibility and know that they have to start feeding the pipeline of pilots quickly.